Hello there. Welcome to Sumit Academy. I do hope that you have subscribed to my channel. Do subscribe now so that you do not miss out on my previous or future videos. My dear viewers, Monday, July 2020 was a red letter day for you and me, the ordinary consumers of goods in this country. The Government of India finally notified the Consumer Protection Act 2019, which was passed on July 30th, 2019 by the Lok Sabha and later cleared by the Rajya Sabha on August 6, 2019 and signed into law by President Ram Nath Kovind on August 9th last year. This act will have a huge impact on industry, e-commerce platforms and other internet sites which carry advertisements. The act seeks to revamp the process of administration and settlement of consumer disputes with strict penalties including jail term for adulteration and misleading ads by firms. The Consumer Protection Act 2019 replaces the more than 3 decades old Consumer Protection Act 1986. However, the cup of happiness of the long-suffering consumer is not complete as yet. The government has notified most provisions of the Consumer Protection Act 2019 which are related to Consumer Protection Councils, Consumer Disputes Redressal Forum, mediation, the liability of services or products, the penalty for manufacturing, selling, distributing spurious goods or products which contain adulterant. Other parts of the Act pertaining to a separate Consumer Protection Authority for advertisement rules, for e-commerce websites and accountability for celebrity endorsements are yet to be notified. And we all know how often we get misled by sports and Bollywood personalities into buying worthless and spurious products or investing our hard-earned money in real estate or other properties which are not worth the money we invest in them. The new provisions will enable the consumers to drag manufacturers, sellers, or distributors to court if the latter are found dealing in adulterated and spurious products. This act gives real teeth to courts against such errant businesses, as they can be awarded up to 6 months in jail or a fine of up to 1 lakh in cases where the consumer is not injured. In cases where the consumer is injured, the fine to the manufacturer, seller or distributor could be up to rupees 5 lakhs, along with up to 7 years imprisonment. If the case pertains to the death of the consumer, then a minimum fine of rupees 10 lakhs and 7 years in prison, extendable to life imprisonment, can be imposed. The new law will ensure that complaints can be filed at a district or state consumer commission at the location where the complainant resides, rather than from where the service or product was bought. There are provisions for filing complaints electronically. A significant note for customers under this act is that there will be no fee for filing cases up to rupees 5 lakhs. The Act also envisages simplified dispute resolution process and has provision for mediation. Consumers can file complaints from anywhere and they do not need to hire a lawyer to represent their cases. On misleading advertisements, there is provision for jail term and fine for manufacturers. There is no provision for jail for celebrities, but they could be banned from endorsing products if it is found to be misleading. For the first time, there will be an exclusive law dealing with product liability. A manufacturer or product service provider or product seller will now be responsible to compensate for injury or damage caused by defective product or deficiency in services. There is also a provision for class action lawsuit for ensuring that rights of consumers are not infringed. The Act proposes setting up of a Central Protection Authority, the CCPA, to promote, protect, and enforce the rights of consumers as a class. The CCPA will be empowered to conduct investigations into violations of consumer rights and institute complaints or prosecution, order recall of unsafe goods and services, order discontinuance of unfair trade practices and misleading advertisements, and impose penalties on manufacturers or endorsers or publishers of misleading advertisements. The rules for prevention of unfair trade practice by e-commerce platforms will also be covered under this Act. The Gazette notification for establishment of the Central Consumer Protection Authority and rules for prevention of unfair trade practice in e-commerce are under publication. The Consumer Protection Authority will have power to impose a penalty on a manufacturer or an endorser of up to 10 lakh rupees and imprisonment for up to 2 years for a false or misleading advertisement. The Act provides for punishment by a competent court for manufacture of sale of adulterant or spurious goods. The court may, in case of first conviction, suspend any license issued to the person for a period of up to 2 years, and in case of second or subsequent conviction, cancel the license. The Act also enables regulations to be notified on e-commerce and direct selling with focus on protection of interest of consumers. E-commerce platforms will now have to acknowledge the receipt of any consumer complaint within 48 hours and redress the complaint within a month from the date of receipt. This Act will empower consumers and help them in protecting their rights through its various notified rules and provisions, like the Consumer Protection Councils, Consumer Dispute Redressal Commissions, mediation, product liability, and punishment for manufacture or sale of products containing spurious goods. Under this Act, every e-commerce entity is required to provide information relating to return, refund, exchange, warranty and guarantee, delivery and shipment, modes of payment, grievance redressal mechanism, payment methods, security of payment methods, chargeback options, etc., including country of origin, which are necessary for enabling the consumer to make an informed decision at the pre-purchase stage on its platform. The Act introduces the concept of product liability and brings within its scope the product manufacturer, the product service provider, and product seller for any claim of compensation. So far, much of the advertising was left to goodwill. The maximum recourse was given to the ASCI, the Advertising Standards Council of India, but they were paper tigers. ASCI is a convenient shelter for companies. For the consumer, it was a very harrowing process to take the company to task. ASCI at best used to rap the company on the knuckles after a long time, and by that time the advertisement had run its full course. Now the government has power to prosecute or penalize. The onus is now on e-commerce companies, and even companies like Facebook will now be liable. An alternate dispute resolution mechanism of mediation has been provided in the new Act. This will simplify the adjudication process. A complaint will be referred by a consumer commission for mediation wherever scope for early settlement exists and parties agree to it. Mediation will be held in the mediation cells to be established under the aegis of the consumer commissions. There will be no appeal against settlement through mediation. Under this new Act, besides general rules, there are Central Consumer Protection Council rules, Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission rules, appointment of president and members in state district commission rules, mediation rules, model rules, and e-commerce rules, and consumer commission procedure regulations, mediation regulations, and administrative control over state commission and district commission regulations. The e-commerce guidelines seek to impose a contributory or secondary liability on e-commerce entities for guaranteeing the authenticity of the goods sold on their platforms, if such goods are in fact spurious in nature. Additionally, these guidelines also obligate an e-commerce entity to accept the return of spurious goods and refund the purchase amount within a maximum period of 14 days from the return of spurious goods. This Act will prove a significant tool in protecting consumer rights in the country. Yes, the old slogan of Jago Grahak Jago is at last bearing fruit. Let us hope that the government notifies the remaining portions of the Act at the earliest. Nevertheless, this is a big step towards good governance by the Government of India. Well, that's all from me in this video. This video is based on the information freely available on the internet. No originality is claimed for the same. I express my gratitude to all the media and legal websites for the information carried by them. The intention of this video is only to prepare candidates for answering questions on the subject. Do like this video and do subscribe to my channel so that you do not miss out on my previous or future videos. Till later then, cheerio!